It's Marianne from Capital Quilts. Tonight, Kat's going to take me through English paper piecing. It's something that I've watched her do, but I have no idea how to do it. This is Kat. So, Kat does EPP all the time. I admire it, but I don't have a clue how she does it or what you can make out of it. So, she's going to take a few minutes here and just kind of walk me through. It will be the remedial class, I know that, but it's okay. Show how to do it, why you do it, the stuff that you need, that kind of stuff.
Okay, EPP is probably one of the oldest quilting traditions there is. I love it because not only is it handwork, but it's super portable. So this bag goes with me just about everywhere I go. As you can see right now, I'm working on these are 2-inch tilde hexagons. So hexagons are measured on the edge for the size.
Okay.
So even though this is covers my whole palm, it's called a 2-inch hexagon because it's 2 inches from here to here.
Okay.
This is a 1-inch hexagon because it measures 1 inch from here to here.
Okay. And that's not intuitive, at least not to me.
A lot of people try to measure from big point to big point or across the side. And sometimes you will find directions with measurements that way that's really confusing, but stick to measuring by the side for the size of the hexagon.
Okay.
These are my 2 favorite sized hexagons because
Why?
they work perfectly with pre-cuts.
Okay.
Okay, so a 2-inch hexagon fits perfectly on a 5-inch square.
Okay.
We need to do some trimming, but it fits perfectly.
Okay.
A 1-inch hexagon fits perfectly on a 2.5-inch square. You can either buy mini charms, or you can do like I do and buy 2.5-inch strip sets, and you can get 16 little squares from each strip in the strip set.
Okay.
So that makes it really
Easy.
easy. The first step is basting.
Okay.
Okay.
Glue basting, needle basting,
So,
what?
well, the first thing I do is I attach my fabric to my paper
Okay, how?
with a little dot of of fat fabric glue.
Okay.
I just put a little dot on my shape and then face down to the back side of the fabric.
Okay.
This is batik.
Glue
so
side down.
Glue side down.
Okay.
This is batik, so it doesn't matter front or back. On this tilde one, and I will do a circle with a tilde instead of a little dot, just because the shape is bigger. And then I will take and put that down in the middle of this square. Then I don't like lots of extra material, so I clip my edges. And this is a test that I do watching TV. The attack. Okay. After you've attached it to your fabric so it doesn't fall off, I'm just gonna cut off the extra corners because I don't like a lot of extra bulk. You can leave it in. It just creates a heavier quilt when you're done.
Okay. Does it get in the way?
And I find it gets a little in the way. Other people don't. It's English paper piecing can be done a million different ways.
Okay.
If you come to our English paper piecing club, you will find a bunch of people and nobody does it exactly the same way. Okay, after you've trimmed off your corners, we're going to baste.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to baste.
Okay.
There is glue basting, and for glue basting you want a skinny stick. If you try to use a fat stick, you're going to make an unholy mess.
Okay.
Okay, so the skinny glue stick, glue pen, what we call it, is what you want. And you start by making a line of glue about 1/4 inch away from the edge and not all the way to the edge because you don't want to gum up your needle. So you just draw a line and then you press your fabric over. And you're gonna do this all the way around. Sorry, I keep moving. All the way around. A lot of people like to glue baste because it's fast. It can also make curves a little easier if you're doing curves. As someone who does not like doing curves, it doesn't matter to me. I actually glue baste very infrequently.
Okay.
As I find the process of thread basting to be very pleasurable and sort of meditative and zen-like.
Okay.
So I'll show you this. And that's how you would glue baste. The goal is just to have all of your sides folded around flat over the hexagon. And then you set that aside for when we sew it later. To thread baste, and for thread basting you can use pretty much any old thread you've got laying around and any old needle that is comfortable in your hand.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you use a special needle, or you really
Not-
don't care?
Not for this step.
Okay.
For the next step I do. And today I'm using red thread so you can see what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I would use a more neutral thread, but it doesn't really matter that much because this thread color is going to be hidden under fabric when your quilt goes together. But I do just prefer using something a little more neutral. So I fold it over to the edge and then I thumbnail press it, and I take my needle to help form that next fold so it's nice and tight.
Okay.
Okay, then I come and I do have a knot at the end of my thread. It should be no longer than your forearm. That's to help prevent tangling. I'm gonna come in on the underside of that fold so that my knot catches, and then I'll just take a little stitch and then I'll loop through the stitch to help secure it. That just helps if my knot pulls through, there's something else holding the thread in place.
Okay.
When you baste this way, you will never take out the thread. So,
You don't have to keep cutting it, you just leave it alone.
yep.
Okay.
So over each corner, I don't know if you can see this, I'm coming up, folding over, taking a stitch outside so that the fold is over this middle part of my needle here.
Okay.
And then I come up and then I take a back stitch. And that ensures that that fold is never going anywhere.
Right. You don't have to do a knot each time, just at
Nope.
the beginning? Okay.
Nope, just a back stitch. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to be a little particular about some things.
I have noticed that.
So when I baste my hexagons, I take, a lot of people will stop on this corner because they consider that to be done. Because I'm leaving my stitching in and because I'm a little particular, I'm gonna go back to where I started.
Okay.
And that helps hold that seam allowance down so that when I put my pieces together, there's nothing that's gonna flop out and get in the way. And I'll explain that when we get to the stitching them together part. But again, I'm gonna make one last back stitch. And then I go through that back stitch. These are probably unnecessary steps here at the end, but they make me happy, so I do them.
Okay.
Then I go through both stitches in the fold, pull it taut, and snip the thread. So, two different methods. The glue basting is certainly faster. I just prefer the thread basting. It's, try them both, see what you like. Okay. Once you have yourself a lovely pile of basted hexagons, they can be either the 2 inches or the 1 inch, whatever your preference is. We're gonna work with the 1 inch today because it's a little bit faster to sew and I don't want this
Okay.
to take forever.
And I notice you keep these in there, so when does that come out?
The paper comes out after you have stitched around all of the edges,
Okay.
or you're ready to applique it down to something.
Okay.
Okay, but I will prepare hundreds of these and
I can see.
carry them around in my bag.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
So
Now, are there other shapes?
there are other shapes. Any shape you can imagine, they make an English paper piece for.
Okay.
Hexagons are probably the most well-known due to Grandmother's Flower Garden, but they make kites and diamonds and rectangles and squares and honeycombs and circles and you name it, they make it literally. If you're intimidated by piecing a double wedding ring, they have English paper pieces for it, and as long as you line up your edges, it's going to come out perfectly matched.
Okay.
So English paper piecing is also a good way to get those sharp points that foundation piecers get, but we're doing it by hand.
Okay.
Okay. To sew your hexagons together, you will prefer using a thinner thread. I absolutely love the Aurifil 80,
Okay.
and I piece everything in a neutral color. Okay, this is kind of a
Green.
khaki green, and I'm going to sew blue and burnt lavender with it, and it will be fine.
Okay.
Okay. For sewing these together, you will want a milliner's needle or a straw needle. They are long and thin.
Flexible.
You can use flexible or you can use not flexible. That's a purely personal preference. The thinner the needle, the more flexible it will be. I like to use a milliner's 10 or 11, which is kind of skinny.
Okay.
But again, do what works for you. I know people that you can use silk thread for this. Silk thread is great for this. My problem with the silk thread, and there are pros and cons to every single thread, and I've tried them all. So I love the Aurifil. This is what I've landed on, is the Aurifil 80. It does snap if you pull it too hard.
Okay.
So you need to learn where that snap point is. It's not a problem in a quilt, because once you get 16 stitches side by side, it's strong. But an 80 weight thread all by itself is so thin that it will just snap.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're trying it and that happens, don't worry about it. Just use a little less force when pulling your thread taut. So there's the Aurifil 80, there's Silk 100 weight, which is lovely. I find it to be a little bit slippery. But it disappears actually better than the Aurifil.
Okay.
But I'm paying off the ease of use for me with this. Other people find silk wonderful to work with.
Okay.
The other thread that I found worked really well for me was Invisifil. It's a 100 weight polyester thread.
Okay.
It's stretchy,
Doesn't
which is
it-
what I don't like about it.
Okay, I was gonna
It
say-
also has a tendency for the thread to unravel itself
Okay.
while you're using it by hand. So those are the reasons I've landed on Aurifil 80.
Okay.
I know a lot of people that do the piecing with Aurifil 50.
Okay.
It's a matter of personal preference. Some people match their threads to their fabric. I can't be bothered. I use neutral.
Okay.
We love neutral thread. Okay, so anyhow, you're gonna need some Wonder Clips.
Okay.
They're your best friend when you're an English paper piecer. So we're gonna take and line up our two pieces so they are completely aligned. And I'm gonna use the clip to hold them in place.
Okay.
Okay. I like to use, this is gonna be the center of my flower, the blue. And so the lavender will be my petals. I like to sew with the center facing me. That's, again, just a weird thing that I do. You do you. I've also been told that I hold my pieces oddly.
Okay.
Okay, so to start, I'm gonna come in along the paper into that corner. And then go through, sorry, I can't see. Go through both fabrics with the needle straight across. And there was a little knot, but again, for security, I'm gonna loop through. Oops, and that looped wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Sure, when I do it,
I know.
like I do this, what, 100 times a day?
That's because I'm watching.
It is.
There
Then you
go.
pull it taut,
Okay.
okay? And that'll create an additional secure point at the corner.
Okay.
And then you just whip stitch all the way down.
How close do the stitches need to be?
They need to be at least 1/8 of an inch apart. I mean, yeah, they need to be no wider apart than 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
16ths are better. Find what works for you, honestly. I probably do a few more stitches than some people, and I know I do less than others. But you're going through and you're just catching a few threads of the fabric.
All right, you're not going through the paper.
Not going through the paper. You're using the paper as a guide for your needle to rest on top of.
Okay.
So you've got just a little bit of slack around the paper in your fabric, and that's what you're doing. You're just going through and whip stitching all the way across. Once I finish attaching this, and we'll call it a petal because it is a flower, this petal to a flower, and we're almost there, I'm going to start attaching a second flower. We're going to leave all of our petals floppy until we get all of our petals attached. We are going to pretend that I have sewn on all, okay? And then we reach in and pull out the paper, which is reusable. You can use that 5, 6, 10 times. If you don't rip it, it'll last for a good long time. If you find it's like a little smushy like that, just put it in a stack with a lot of them and put a little weight on top and it'll flatten them right out.
Okay.
Anyhow, so we're going to fold this in half, which is easy to do now that the paper's out. Line up our corners. Stick a wonder clip so it doesn't move. And I pre-knotted this, but again, I like to come up inside the hexagon next to the paper, into that corner. Pick up the 2 petal corners, avoiding the fabric of the center, because that'll make a pucker if you catch it in now. And then go through the loop just to secure it a little extra in addition to the knot. And then just like you did attaching the petal to the center, to attach petal to petal, you just whip stitch all down that side. About 16 inches to the inch, 16 stitches to the inch. Long day. 16 inches to the stitch. 16 stitches to the inch is about what you're going for. If you're only 12, that's fine. If you're 24, that's fine too. 8 is probably not good. 30 is probably way overkill. But again, if you try it, do you. See what works best for you. I have a friend that puts in probably close to 30 or 40 stitches. When she does this, that's just the method that she's found that she likes best. There are very few rules in EPP.
Okay. Now, I see that you have like tons in your bag. You just keep doing this until you can't take it anymore and then you start putting them together, or?
Okay, so let me finish this first so I can show you how to tie off that knot. We're almost there. But yes, I left my OCD box at home. My OCD box is an art bin box. I think it was originally designed for like embroidery thread. You know, it has that size compartments. These fit perfectly.
Okay.
Stacked up like this. So I have a box that's this big, full of these standing up on it. It's so pretty.
Okay, you're just collecting them? What?
No, I'm making them.
Well, I figured you're making them,
No,
but
and then I turn them into flowers, which will eventually turn into a quilt. With my tilde hexagons, I'm not making flowers, but I'm making rows. Because, believe it or not, I have a thought in my head for a very modern quilt using the tilde. So, when I get, right now it's 7, I might take it longer. And just sewing them together in rows. which I will then stitch together into a big wide stripe,
Okay.
which is going to get appliqued onto like a cream color solid for a bed quilt for me.
Okay.
So there's a lot you can do. It's only limited by your imagination. And yes, I do like to carry them around and play with them.
Whatever.
Back to the corner because I'm scatterbrained. Okay, make sure you catch the very tips of the corner on your last stitch.
Okay.
Make that extra little loopy thing. And then come down. I like to run it down the inside of that fold. Again, that's just because I'm a little particular about certain things. I don't know if you noticed. And then the two petals are now attached to each other as well as the center. It's a lot of fun to make these little shapes, whether you do flowers or triads or quads even, and then just use these as an applique onto another background. One of my favorite quilts that we have here in the shop is called Big Hexie Love, and it uses flowers using the 2-inch hexies on a neutral piece background, and it's stunning if I do say so myself. So we have come up with a Learn to English Paper Piece kit, which is this right here. It is completely self-contained and makes a mug rug when you're done.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so it comes with instructions. Here's your glue pen. This is actually the background fabric for your mug rug, and your needle is stuck into that there. You've got more than enough.
Petals.
This is your petal
Fabric. Okay.
fabric. This is your binding fabric, sorry. This is your petal fabric.
Oh, it's already cut. Oh,
Already
even
cut.
better. Yeah.
Already cut. There's
Batting.
batting. We're giving you a bobbin of thread. This is, I believe, a 60 weight, so it is thinner than what you might buy for piecing. It's not as thin as this, but it works beautifully.
Okay.
And it's great for a beginner because it doesn't have that really low snap point.
Okay.
And we're giving you one wonder clip. Yay! So this
Okay.
will make a little patriotic table runner.
Table runner? No,
Sorry, mug rug.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mug rug.
Okay.
That's your background. You're gonna have a blue flower and then this lovely spotted binding.
Okay, cool.
And you get to learn how to EPP while you're at it. Oh, and the cutest little scissors. Sorry, the cutest little scissors ever. We're also including those. So you can really pop this whole reclosable container into your bag and take it anywhere with you. And I do this anywhere, and you've seen me do it in staff meetings. I'll do it at doctor's offices. I've done it traveling.
I was going to ask, will it get through TAA?
TSA will
Yeah,
allow most of this,
Okay.
with the caveat that any TSA agent may refuse any item they wish
Yeah. But in general,
at any
I
given
know
time.
that they were like fingernail size clippers they were relaxing on.
That was early on. No, I take my regular
I don't
regular
take
scissors.
weaponry. They don't trust me with weapons on the plane.
No, I don't take weaponry, but I can take these scissors with me without
Okay.
a problem.
Yeah, then those little,
Yeah,
sorry, little guys shouldn't be a problem.
These should not be a problem for any TSA agent unless, somebody did something nasty in their Cheerios that morning.
Never know.
Never know.
Okay, cool.
But no.
Okay, cool.
So that's our little kit. In addition to mug rugs, you can make table runners. Thank you. One of our customers embellishes sweatshirts with her EPP blocks. Anything you can make with regular quilting, you can make with EPP. There are some picture patterns out. Violet Craft does English paper pieced animals.
Oh my, okay.
So you know how there's like the foundation pieced lion?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's an EPP lion as well that you can make. In addition, there are tons of patterns that make smaller items. You can make panels for bags. What do you want to make with EPP? You probably can.
Okay, all right, thank you.